What is the scariest film that doesn't resort to cheap jump scares?
Not a movie but a TV series called Black Mirror. The episodes are like an hour long and focus on technology and psychological torment. Totally a fucked up show.
Threads. Especially as I live in Sheffield where it's set. The original Blair Witch Project. The fact that it was the first found footage and you never saw the witch or anything because it was always off camera was freaky. Plus I remember when everyone left the theater, the fact that everyone thought that was real footage and not a movie.
Coraline, that movie is scary.
Videodrome.
The original Grudge did it for me. There are a couple of jumps in it and the US one, but how haunting and dreadful the atmosphere made me more unsettled than anything. And that fucking sound she makes.
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those long, still shots where the horror just comes into frame and you are helpless and can only sit and watch as it unfolds. John Carpenter's The Thing.
High Tension.
Antichrist. I will never unsee that movie.
Creep 2014. The story itself is simple enough, but the combo of the way it's shot and Mark Duplass's commitment to the character left me with lingering creepy vibes for a few days.
Prisoners. It had me terrified and on the edge of my seat the entire movie. It was every parent's nightmare. I am not even a parent and I was worried for my children.
Commenting on this thread at work so I can find it at home. Whoever reads this, if anyone does, you are beautiful and I hope you have an awesome day.
Wait until dark. Audrey Hepburn plays a woman who was recently blinded in an accident. Alan Arkin plays a drug smuggler trying to retrieve a stash that accidentally ended up in her apartment. Although it does have one iconic jump, I wouldn't call it cheap. The movie was already scary well before it. Spoiler.
Misery, no need for jump scares. The terror comes from Annie's swift changes in mood, and suddenly you find yourself fearing for Paul's life.
I'd definitely say Martyrs, the original, French one. It f***cked me up for a long time. IIRC, it might have a few jump scares, but they were very well done. I wouldn't recommend it for those with weak stomach or mind.
1 hour photo. Robin Williams is a nightmare. The Mist was very good for this. All about suspense and the idea of not knowing what was out there, and the ending. Very good.
I thought Pan's Labyrinth was super creepy for a kid's folktale.
The Last House on the Left. The 70s one is great, but the remake is pretty solid too. The idea of knowing your temporary house guests harmed someone close to you is an interesting idea. Made me think about what I might do in that situation. Oldboy is a good example of this too. The more you think about it, the scarier it becomes.
Eraserhead gave me nightmares for a couple of days.
Silence of the Lambs. Most of the violence isn't even on the screen. But because we don't see it, we started putting it together in our heads. Hopkins and Foster sucked me into that movie and had me looking over my shoulder for days.
The first Saw film is really good and have very few jump scares. I think there might be one or two, but you can tell in advance when they are coming so you can look away. I can't stand jump scares either, but Saw is pretty safe.
Not traditionally a horror film but terrifying in a different way, Bone Tomahawk.
Audition by Takashi Miike. Edit, Takashi not Takeshi.
I thought The Changeling 1980 * was pretty scary. I don't remember any jump scares, but there is absolutely a creepy vibe throughout the entire movie. * the one with George C. Scott, not Angelina Jolie.
Black Swan. A slow descent into madness is creepy and realistic and totally within the realm of possibility for most people.
The Exorcist 1973. This movie gave me nightmares for a long time. Watching the picture of that kid possessed still gives me the chills.
The Shining. While less scary and more intense and dreadful, it's still awesome.
Pontypool.
Jacob's Ladder. Without a doubt, the most thrilling horror movie I've seen.
The Machinist. It's not even a horror movie.
Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I live in suburban Chicago, and that flick fucked me up.
We need to talk about Kevin. Don't look up anything about it, just watch it. More horrifying than scary, though, TBH. Edit fucked up the title. Edit 2 should be on Netflix, US anyways, for those who want to watch it. Jacob's Ladder is fucking disturbing. Fun fact, it was one of the major inspirations for the Silent Hill franchise.
A Spanish film called El Orfanato, The Orphanage.
Event Horizon. Sam Neill's a legend.
It Follows was pretty good at creating a creepy atmosphere.
Werner Herzog's 1979 Nosferatu the Vampire. Chilling and sad. The original 1922 Nosferatu is also pretty creepy. In that vein, the 2008 Let the Right One In is great. The American remake, Let Me In, is a big ol' skip-a-rooney.
Prince of Darkness. OMG Prince of Darkness. The devil is real, and has been kept in a prison in the basement of a church. The prison is leaking. Amazing, amazing, amazing film.
The V-Watch. There's one jump scare in the film, which doesn't involve any horror at all. It's a fantastic period piece and creepy as fuck. The Girl Next Door. Not the comedy one, the other one loosely based on Sylvia Likens. Poor girl got mutilated and raped to death, orchestrated by someone who was supposed to be a caregiver.
For me, I don't know about Scariest, but as much as people shit on M. Night Shyamalan, I thought Signs. It had good tension. There was a lot of quietness in the movie which made the atmosphere more creepy, almost like you're on the edge of your seat feeling like they might jam the volume up high as shit to scare you, but they never do. To this day, I'll never forget how scary it was when they show that video of the birthday party and the footage capturing the alien walking by. I still won't watch that movie alone.
Creep. This one left me with a feeling of dread for days afterwards.
The Strangers. The fear of being hunted is just fucking awful.
Although the second half of the movie resorts to some cheap scares, the first half of The Descent is terrifying.
Identity and 1408. Very underrated films. Zodiac scared the absolute fuck out of me. Session 9. It's what you never see that really gets to you.
The original Japanese Ring, pronounced Ringu. Hands down one of the scariest films I've seen to date.
Not a movie, but the first Doctor Who episode one ever saw, Water on Mars, scared the fucking shit out of me.
Mothman Prophecies to me was quite scary. Also, Coherence, which is a really low-budget movie, gets me quite anxious and scared when watching it because I can imagine myself in their shoes if that stuff were to happen to me on a normal night. It is on Amazon Prime if anyone is interested if you like relativity and alternate reality stuff.
The Fourth Kind pretty much did it for me. But I'm a sucker for realistic alien movies.
Nightcrawler had me on the edge of my seat. It's a different kind of scary.
Alien is scarier to me than any straight horror movie. The atmosphere just fucks with your head so much and you're paranoid that the alien will come out of every dark spot in the room. Spoiler alert, the whole movie is dark.
Session 9.
Set in Danvers, MA, a group of overworked, underpaid hazmat removal guys race to complete a job in one of the country's oldest mental institutions. Tempers flare and people start to break. This is what I think of as a true horror movie, in that at the end of the film I felt sick and full of dread. Highly recommend.
The Thing, 1982. It was a psychological monster movie. You knew the monster was there, you knew you were looking right at it. You knew that no one could trust each other and had to watch them fall apart. And when you see it come out, when you see the monster know that it had been found out and it has a look of resignation on its face, you can't help but feel afraid that any of them could also be a monster. When they corner one out in the snow and it looks up at them and a person makes a very inhuman noise, still sends chills down my spine.
Dark skies. There's a jump scare near the end, but I wouldn't even classify it as such. It's just kinda there, and the fact that it is produces the scare.
The Conjuring. Only because at my grandma's house she literally had that same exact fucking doll in her guest room that I slept in.
Fire in the Sky. Freaked me out when I was a kiddo.
Say 7N, David Fincher. Saw it when I was 12 or something, barely slept for a week.
Halloween.
Frailty.
Even though it's dated as fuck, I always loved the McPherson tapes. It's one of the only horror movies that really just freaks me out by the atmosphere and isolation. That and warning messages halfway through the movie to emulate a true story missing footage type movie. It has some jump scares and the part with the spaceship looks ridiculous, but other than that I'd say it's a fairly decent horror movie.
10 Cloverfield Lane. While this isn't the scariest film, others already made my picks for that. I was extremely uncomfortable and nervous throughout the majority of it, to the point where I'm not even sure if I enjoyed it, which is a credit to the film, and particularly John Goodman. Edit, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you don't read any of the replies to this comment.
Consider subscribing.